It's been a time thus far here in Heat City. We've had a lot of ups and downs, but it's been fun. The mayor's a nice guy. I'm kicking butt. And most importantly of all, the people are accepting. But there's still something that I'm missing, I feel like. And I don't know what it is. What could I possibly be missing? Have I not cooked hard enough? What is the secret ingredient? What have I been missing this entire time? Meanwhile, during the drafting process... Come on. Come on. Come on, she's right there. Come on, please, please, please. No. It can't. It can't end like this! No. I refuse! I refuse to believe! No. Ryan, please tell me what I saw was a dream. Bobby! Hold me. Mighty, will you save the day? It's a little late for that now. How dare. No. Not like this. It wasn't supposed to end like this! What do I do now? Was that not the answer? I thought that was going to be my answer. But it's gone. Please. Please. Please tell me something's still on the board. Oh, it's time to cook. Yes. Yes. The power. It rules within me. I've been waiting to get the hold of this power for quite some time. Haven't been quite able to unlock it yet. But now, it is time to prove why the darkness is better than the light! Ha ha ha! Yes. Could this be the key to everything? What I've been searching for? All the power? Maybe. Just maybe. This could be the time. I never tried something like this before. But I think now would be a good time. Yes. Finally, the full power of my psychic abilities will be unleashed! Ah! Yes. I'm over 9,000. Greetings, Pokemans! Zack Attack here, and today we're going to be going over our team for the 6th season of the MDL. And this is a different MDL that we joined way back when we started Draft League. And that MDL was like a low-tier league run by someone who has no idea what the heck they were doing. Got coached by a Venomoth week 1 of that of ODL season 1. No, ZDL season 1. Week 1. The guy that ran that league got cooked by a +6 Venomoth you gotta trust. Anyways, so, yeah, bad ownership. That league got wiped the floor with. This is a different MDL, a different Meloetta Draft League. And this one is run by some people that, if you watched my channel before, you know these people. The and well, I got cooked by him, so shout out to the Shoyer. Anyways, yeah, he's one of the admins. Good guy, good guy. Made my logo actually, so that's nice. But we had to cook in this draft. The way that this draft worked is it was 115 points. You could spend 25 on your Terra Captains because it was an open Terra, very high tier Terra. And there were 32 coaches in this league. Yeah, you heard me right. 32 coaches. And the reason why there's so many is because each division has its own playoffs. Has its own 16 2 divisions, 16 coaches in them, and so that takes 16 coaches away that I don't have to play. But the docs are the same for both divisions. It's just who picks who is completely different. Coaches are different, playstyles are different. So hopefully I didn't get thrown into the harder league because I want to try and make playoffs. But I do know some people that I got thrown into the same league with. Yeah, it's going to be very interesting. It's going to be a very interesting league because I think I got thrown into the harder draft, which makes sense. I mean, I'm the GOAT, so so they win a playoff game, but we're not going to talk about it. I feel pretty good about my chances of drafting a good team and making postseason, and I don't have problems with my ability. The problem comes with not getting to playoffs, but winning games in playoffs because I can afford to lose, and we all know that I occasionally do the whole thing where I choke, and then it's just well, now I just cooked myself, and I don't even know why the heck I did that play, because that was the obvious play. That's the one I should have made. Anyways, but in any case, I'm excited to go ahead and delve into this draft, because a lot of weird things happen. This is probably the most chaotic draft I've ever been a part of. And you guys thought ZDL was crazy. Yeah, this draft was complete and total chaos. Because, long story short, as I'm recording this, the draft literally just finished. It took a whole week for everyone to draft their team. It was insane. The other division got done 2 or 3 days before we did. That's how embarrassing it was. I don't know if our coaches were cooking too long or not. It was just weird. It was just crazy. But we're goated. And as I'm recording this, the schedule has not been out. By the time y'all see it, the schedule will have been released and Grace will be over. But right now, none of that stuff has even started or been released yet or anything like that. So hopefully I don't get too difficult of a schedule. I mean, I would like my road to playoffs to be relatively simple. But alas, it's whatever. If I get cooked, so be it. But yeah, enough of me chit-chatting. I'm talking on for way too long. You guys know how that be. You guys love to just watch me on the chair talk like no one's business, don't y'all? Yeah. Breaking the fourth wall. Shut up. Yeah. It's probably better if we get into the draft because, oh boy, do I got some stories for you guys. There was a lot of cookery, a lot of evil, and a lot of sniping. So let's go on and let's get into the draft and see, despite the chaotic draft this was, what I was able to cook up. And debatably, might have turned into one of my best drafts, if not my best draft ever. Let's dive in. Now, let's go ahead and go over the team while I enjoy my Milo's chicken. Now, that's good stuff. Now, for our first pick, we had 10 picks in this draft that we had the 150 points for. We used those 115 points and 25 tier points on 10 Pokemon. And the first round was honestly the most chaotic one, because a lot of the good Pokemon that I wanted were going very, very early. And I was 12th pick out of like 16 coaches. So, yeah. I had Palafin, Spectrier, and Meowscarada on my top board. Meowscarada was my first choice. And it was falling. The other two were taken by both of them were taken by Palafin was taken first, Spectrier was taken fourth. But Meowscarada, it was falling all the way down. And then I got taken the pick right before me. I am so incredibly tilted right now. You know what? I'm gonna make some sweet tea to calm me down. That stuff hits the spot every time. But in all seriousness, though, I was incredibly tilted. I was fuming. Anyways, yeah, it was so bad. It got to the point where I was like, the heck do I do? Like, what am I supposed to do? Because I didn't know what to do. My entire plan involved drafting Meowscarada round 1. That was the entire game plan, and it went whoop, right out the window. So, yeah. Now I gotta figure out what the heck am I gonna do. And thankfully, my genius front office knew exactly what to do. So, I call him up, I'm like, bro, Meowscarada just got sniped. I want to use something I haven't used yet. What do you suggest? And, oh, he's evil. And you know that happens to be in my division. So, let's go on ahead. Let's dive into the first pick. And as we go along, you can probably see where this is going to be going. But let's talk about our first Pokemon and our team captain for this season of the MDL, Season 6. We have Deoxys Speed here as our first Pokemon. Now, Deoxys Speed is a Pokemon that, I'm not gonna lie, I've been actually really enjoying seeing this Pokemon be used on the field. I've seen it cook a lot. And that base 180 speed tier is nothing to scoff at. Having a Pokemon like Dio Speed here that can just come in, outspeed everything that's not Scarfed, that has a solid enough speed tier with a Scarf to even outspeed it in the first place. And the only Pokemon faster than this thing naturally is Regieleki, and I don't think anyone, no, someone did draft it, but it was like super late. I really like this Pokemon. This Pokemon's got a very wide coverage move pool, and I'm not gonna lie, coverage is something I'm, well, not exactly lacking on this team, but it's like, it's lacking to a degree. It's like, a lot of this, and a lot of that, and then very few of everything else in between. So it's like, not a lot of stab options, I guess you'd say. But I do have coverage. And Dio Speed gets me a lot of coverage. And I can use that to my advantage. It even gets recover, if I want to be a little cheeky with that. It gets recover. Calm Mind, and it can set up. It can be physical if it wants to be, because its attack and special attack are actually pretty equal. And it's got ways to boost itself. So it's like, you let this thing sit, eventually you are going to get steamrolled. And that's what I want to happen. I want this thing to steamroll whoever I'm battling. I don't care who it is. I want this thing to get kills. And it's going to get kills. It can also be a hazard lead. I don't know how often I'm going to do that, though, because of the way my team is. Because this team is built to be very offensive. So, yeah, our first pick, Deoxys Speed Goatmon. And, I can't wait to use this powerful psychic type legendary, or mythical rather. Now, the next Pokemon on the list for a round 2 pick, we were pretty early on the wheel, and I wanted to go ahead and I wanted to cross off a few check marks. We got our primary special attacker. I mean, these can be both, but it's going to be primary special based on the team that I'm running, probably. And we needed a strong physical attacker to help out Deoxys Speed. And based on the kind of team that I was trying to draft, this Pokemon fit the criteria. And I've actually never used this Pokemon before. This is one of the Pokemon that I have also seen cook, depending on the situation. If you put it in the right situations, this Pokemon can do a lot of damage, but it's super frail. And when I say super frail, I mean it. However, it can cook, and that's what we need: chefs. But don't let this Pokemon go near a frying pan. I'm not sure how it would work. So, we're going to go ahead and I'm going to show you my next Pokemon, my round 2, and the goat itself. We got Sneasler in the next spot. Now, Sneasler is going to be my grounded poison this season. And having a grounded poison is extremely important because grounded poisons, your poison types are already super effective on grass and fairies, but that's still helpful. And not to mention, Sneasler is probably one of the stronger Pokemon out there, just in the physical stat department. Also being part fighting type also helps me out because my team, as you'll see as we go on later on, lacks fighting coverage. So this is a good way to get it early. And having a core of Deoxys Speed and Sneasler, I think you can see where this is going. Because in Sneasler's abilities, they're pretty good. You got Poison Touch, can, have no chance to poison. Unburden, when he loses an item, gets double speed boost. And it's a very, very fast Pokemon as well. So my speed tiers early on, they're looking pretty good. I'm not gonna lie. They're looking pretty good. And we love speed. We love some speed here in this household. And we got some good speed and some good power early on, and that's what you want in a draft. Good speed, good power early. And having just a reliable mon like Sneasler really, really helps. It doesn't even have to be unburdened for this thing to cook. It can be Poison Touch, and I can just run a Choice Spear on. I can slap a Choice Spear on this thing and say, hey, time to Dire Claw! Not in front of not close to combat in front of Lotarios and Mew. You gotta trust. Sorry, Nexus. I feel so bad. He's the GOAT, and Draft League is good, and people should get that message. And Sneasler will prove why it's the GOAT. Now, on to the next selection. Now, my next Pokemon for round 3, I wanted to get my Terra Captain now. Preferably maybe Iron Clown, but there was another Pokemon that was on the board that stood out to me as a potential Terra option. And I was like, does this Pokemon get the fancy move? It gets the fancy move. And it has this fancy move as well. And under decent conditions, it can cook. It can cook, people. It can cook. And the chef with 6 arms. And it's a dark type. Gotta trust. So for our third pick in our first of 2 Terra Captains, I am going to introduce to you Hoopa Unbound. Now, Hoopa Unbound with Terra means it gets rid of that pesky 4 times weakness to Bug. And it can Terra, and it's open Terra, so it can be of any of the 18 distinct types. And this thing is also a specially defensive wall. On top of all of that, it doesn't have the greatest speed tier in the world, only being, I think, base 80, but its offenses and its special bulk are more than to make up for that. The thing here with Hoopa is that it gets a spicy move called Expanding Force, which doubles in power if the user is in second terrain. And as I saw with Sneasler, the last pick, has Unburden. And the other speed also gets the fancy move Expanding Force as well. I think you can see where this is going. If you haven't figured it out now, you'll find out next pick. But I'm excited to use Hoopa Unbound. I've seen it cook, especially with Terra, mainly in the previous league in Muffins, and I am going to use this thing to its fullest potential. This is probably going to be my primary offensive Pokemon, and just having a Terra option to best suit it for whatever matchup I have is going to be amazing. So, Hoopa, I need you to not die to U-turn. I'm looking at you, Dyer. So, it is time to take this trio and make them even more broken than they currently are on their own. How to do that? Well, let's move on to the next Pokemon, and you'll find out exactly how I am going to do it. But before I do that, I must also remind you of Hoopa Unbound's ability in Magician, which allows it to take items from the opponent. It's basically, what's that ability? It's basically Pickpocket. And Pickpocket, kind of crazy. So, being able to steal a Pokemon's item and completely destroy their strategy could be kind of fun. So, expect to see Hoopa cook a few times with that Magician. Now, with the first Terra monster out of the way, we need a way for them to abuse their offenses and make them even more powerful than they already are. And there's one Pokemon on the board that current is there that can do exactly that. And this Pokemon isn't really that powerful on its own, but it's great support for the other 3 Pokemon I literally just picked. And while I could have waited to get this Pokemon, because I don't think anyone was eyeing this Pokemon unless they wanted to rain for some reason, it's better just going to take it now so I can secure it. and not have to worry about this in the distant future, because this version is definitely much better than the other one. I'll explain later. But I cannot wait to use this Pokemon because if you guys remember on my main channel, I did a Psychic type only run, and this Pokemon was on it, and kind of saves me towards the end being able to get up that terrain. So, of course, the one Pokemon that I am talking about, that is the GOAT, with that Psychic terrain, is Indeedee Male. Now, Indeedee, the male one specifically, I drafted the male one on purpose. And the reason for that was because the female one has different stats than the male one. I am not making that up. The male one is more fast and strong, and the female one has more bulk. But the male one has expanding force. The female one does not. I don't know who authorized that, but that makes the male Indeedee, for my team specifically, way too good to pass up. And Indeedee has the ability Psychic Surge, which gets up that Psychic terrain that allows the other 3 Pokemon that I have in the back to freaking cook. Now, Indeedee can also abuse it itself with offensive capabilities to release expanding force of its own, but it doesn't have to do just that. It can do a few other things too, like be a dual screen setter, or do Healing Wish, or do Trick, or just be a nuisance. A Trick Room as well, because some of my team is pretty freaking slow. And to help with those Pokemon that are on the slower side, Indeedee can help them out by Trick Rooming and then Baton Passing. Because it can do that. And it would be funny as crap. So yeah, it's gonna be extremely fun to have Indeedee abuse its own terrain, have the other Pokemon abuse it itself. But while the expanding force and Unburdened Core is over, those aren't the only Pokemon that can take full advantage of the second terrain that I have. And this is where things get pretty interesting. So, let's go and move on to our next pick, and I'll explain exactly what I'm talking about. Also, Indeedee being part normal to help with ghost types is also really, really good. Now, my next Pokemon is actually going to be, funnily enough, the Bubby for this season. Now, we love Bubby here in this household. We love Bubby. Bubby's the GOAT. Now, I get a Bubby rep every single season. Not always green, not always frog-like, but an underrated Pokemon with the name of a legend. And this next Pokemon, its main job is to be a bulky Rapid Spinner, because I don't have removal for hazards at this point. However, now, in terrain, well, I won't spoil the surprise, but, Bubby here could cook under certain conditions, and, well, I know he's very excited to show you what he can do. Now, our Bubby rep for this season is going to be none other than Blastoise. Now, Blastoise is a interesting Pokemon because this is a Pokemon that's a bulky water. Check that one off the list. Rapid Spinner. Check that one off. But it's also a Shell Smasher. And Shell Smash is very important in this um, team because Psychic Terrain blocks all priority moves while also powering up Psychic type moves as a whole. So blocking a priority means Blastoise can more than likely get up the Shell Smash for free and then go right to town with Wave Crash, Surf, Ice Beam, whatever. So yeah, Blastoise, Goatmon, love this thing. It's gonna be a great addition to the team. Gonna love having this around. And but what are you guys looking at? Oh, you guys are wondering why the house changed. Oh, okay. Long story, too long to tell here. If you want to tell me about it, you can ask about it. You can DM me later. But Bubby the Blastoise, he's here. He's the GOAT. And now let's go on and move on to the next pick. Now for the for the next Pokemon, I wanted a fairy. Didn't have one yet. And honestly, there weren't too many good fairy options left on the board. The best looking one for my team specifically was Sylveon. But then that got taken literally right before me again. However, this one didn't sting as bad because unlike last time, I actually had a backup plan. And this Pokemon is 2 points less than Sylveon, but it's not a bad one by any means necessary. It's actually quite the good Pokemon. And I think I'm gonna like enjoying it having this around, especially for the grass type coverage that it provides. No, not Whimsicott, but still pretty good, still pretty close. Introducing, we got Florges here in the next spot, and Florges is a very interesting Pokemon because it's pure fairy, but it gets a lot of grass coverage. It's not stab, but it's still got a lot of grass type coverage. It gets sentences to heal itself, and can also wish support. It can't really do any phasing like Sylveon, can't roar, can't do any of the phasing, but the Florges can still do some stuff that Sylveon can't. But both of them, at the very least, can Wish Pass, and that was the important part. Both of them are Wish Pass, both have good special bulk, and Florges was the one that happened to fall to me, and it's 2 points cheaper, too. So, those 2 points, while they may not seem that big at first, did kind of help me towards the end, landing a Pokemon that I wanted in the end. So, thank you, Florges. But yeah, that is... But now we got our bulky fairy out of the way. Let's go on ahead and let's get some more very notable defense. So the next thing that we were missing on the team is a steal. And unfortunately, most of the steals were gone. The steal I was looking at in the early game was Iron Crown, but that got taken right after I took Indeedee. And, I mean, I knew I wasn't going to get on the go-around anyway, but, it was something I was really thinking about early on. But, I do need another Pokemon that can resist enemy Psychic types, as well as get hazards up, because, yeah, D-Speed can, but I prefer it not to play that role. And also, this Pokemon gets Defog, so that kind of works out that way. And it doesn't look that reliable at first glance. It doesn't look like it does very much, but the stuff that it can do, it is very good at doing. Introducing Skarmory! Pidove! So we got Skarmory here in this next slot, and Skarmory, remember how I said that one thing that we're missing on this team is phasing? because we didn't pick up Sylveon. Well, Skarmory gets that phasing in Whirlwind, being able to switch out an opponent, like, just whenever. I know it's a lower priority move, but, like, come on. Who let him cook? So that's nice. Also getting Spikes and Stealth Rock again as an option. Very good. Very hazardous team. And also a physically defensive wall. I got a lot of Spadef walls, but not so much physical bulk as of this very moment. So Skarmory here being able to help with that definitely also helps. It's got Sturdy as its primary ability, which is going to probably be the only one I run. This thing, Skarmory, Sturdy, live a hit guaranteed at the very least. Maybe get off a Rocky Helmet chip for 2. Gets Roost, Brave Bird, Iron Defense plus Body Press, always a good combination. It's going to be aware of other enemies' Roars and Whirlwinds that they might try and do. As you can see, my team is pretty setup reliant, but at the very least I have some bulk in there, because if I didn't have any bulk, it would just be hyper offense, and not great. At the very least, Skarmory provides some of what I was missing, which was bulk. And hopefully it can play its role relatively well. And yeah, welcome to Team Skarmory. Let's move on to the next Pokemon. So next up, we are going to get our second Tera Captain. And this Pokemon, without Tera on Legends low tier, not really that great, honestly. Without being able to terrestrialize this Pokemon, not great. Having a lot of weaknesses, a few of them being 4 times from its natural typing, not great. But it is a ground type, so, and that's something that I have been missing on this team for a while. You always want to make sure you have a solid ground type, and this gives me that with the option to Tera. And honestly, I really like this Pokemon. Being able to pair this with a Hoopa Unbound in terms of Tera, going to be very good. And this is also one of those Pokemon that can abuse Trick Room, should that be, necessary. If I need a Trick Room abuser. And yeah, that's pretty much all I've got from this Pokemon. I'm gonna be completely honest. But it's definitely a good one, no doubt about that. Introducing Rhyperior. Rhyperior is, without a doubt, with its regular ability, not with regular ability, regular typing, not great. Rhyperior, however, its abilities do help it, especially with paired with Tera to an extent. Its first ability is Lightning Rod, which makes it immune to all electric type attacks and gives it a +1 special attack boost. This ability on base Rhyperior is poo-poo garbage, because it's already immune to electric type moves, and a special attack boost is not helping Rhyperior. The only reason I could see it being good in like double battles, because Lightning Rod does attract all electric moves, so it's mainly suited for double battles. However, with Tera, if I'm terrestrializing this thing into like a water or a flying type, I can keep Lightning Rod and keep the electric immunity. So with Tera, it kind of ends up not being a bad ability. It actually ends up being kind of good. I ain't gonna lie. The other ability, and the one that I'll probably use most of the time, is Solid Rock, which weakens super effective damage. However, with Rhyperior's bad special defense, weakening super effective damage is kind of redundant. But I guess it's better to give it a chance to live. But this is also another physically defensive wall that can Iron Defense Body Press combo you into the Oblivion. So you always gotta look out for my Skarmory and Rhyperior setting up those Iron Ds. This is also a Pokemon that gets Rock Polish, which a lot of Rock types lost in previous generations, but Rhyperior kept it for some reason with its base 40 speed. I don't know. So if I don't want to use Trick Room, I can do the whole Rock Polish, Weakness Policy kind of thing and outspeed some stuff. It is only a 40 pace speed though, so it's not like it's going to be outspeeding much. But it is bulky enough to get up more than one rock polish, so it actually all kind of evens out. And also proc the weakness policy, which paired with something like rock, you're nerfing some super effective damage. I could see that set kind of popping a little bit. And the other ability that I probably won't use at all is Reckless, which boosts the power of recoil moves. I don't really like using recoil moves unless I have to for like damage roll purposes, like Wave Crash on Blastoise, for example. So I would rather not. I'm gonna be honest, I would rather not. But the other two, Solid Rock and Lightning Rod, expect to see those quite a lot if Rhyperior is being brought for the game plan. And this is my second and other Terra Captain, so open Terra, this could be literally any Terra in the books. And depending on the matchup, Rhyperior could shine very brightly. So now we're going on to our final two picks. I got a few points to work with. It's like 14, and nothing too crazy. But I got points to work with. And I'm looking at my team, and I'm like, webs look good with my team. And sticky webs are a very key component. Especially since I can slow the opposing Pokemon down, allowing Rhyperior, or Dio, or Sneasler, or Hoopa, or any other fast Pokemon I got. They can outspeed, and they can do some damage. And we all like to see some damage. And with that being said, having webs up is going to be so helpful. Especially if I got Pokemon trying to increase their speed. And this next Pokemon is also like a base 40 speed, but this thing gets Trail Blaze for some weird reason. And if you remember from a certain TBD battle, this thing smoked the Suicune. So, like, I'm just saying, this thing kinda busted. And, of course, that Pokemon is none other than Araquanid. Now, Araquanid is a Pokemon that I've actually had before in a previous Draft League season. And that Draft League season was in the TBD, hashtag RipTBD. It's also the one where I had the Terra Wartortle. So I got 2 Pokemon reclaimed in this one league. I had Chandelure in the MLBBL, and then now I have Araquanid and effectively Wartortle reclaimed from that league as well. And Araquanid, now I get to use a full season with it. And this thing could actually cook. Like, this thing can actually cook. It could be really, really fun. Getting up sticky webs, slinging my opponent down. This is also another Spadef wall. So if I really, really felt like it, I could slap an Assault Vest on this thing. Maybe get a few Trail Blazes, because last time that seemed to work. So I'm just saying, I think I might be on to something. Of course, Water Bubble boosts the power of its water moves. And it's not really that strong of a Pokemon. Like, if you're looking at stats, it's just like, it looks like an underwhelming offense, but Water Bubble is the main reason why, because Nintendo likes to, like, nerf some firepower and then have their ability boosted, and it's like, This thing also does get water, absorbs like a water immunity, which could be nice, considering my team does struggle a little bit against waters, bulky ones specifically. But it'll mostly be water bubble, probably, just because, like, I want this thing to do damage after it gets up the webs. But yeah, Araquanid's going to be a fun mon to use, and I can't wait to use this thing. I know you guys are probably excited for me to use this thing, so with that being said, Araquanid, welcome to the team, and yeah, on to the last Pokemon. Now, the last Pokemon was a bit iffy to decide on, because I was going back and forth between two. I was going back between the Pokemon I eventually chose and Whimsicott. Whimsicott would have been cool as like a grass type, a faster fairy, Prankster Tailwind, Sleep Powder, things like that. It could have been fun. It definitely could have been fun. But the reason why I didn't take it is because with Web's support from Araquanid, I don't have to rely on Whimsicott as much, and it seemed like dead weight. I know having a grass type there would have been good to help counteract like water types and have another electric resistance, because at this point in time I got 2 waters and a flying type and 1 ground type, so I'm a bit weak to electric, and I don't have one myself. But this next Pokemon, I found more value in because 1, I didn't have a ghost type, 2, I didn't have a fire type, and 3, fire coverage to me benefited my team a lot more, especially because this Pokemon specifically is able to like get away, like is able to like Choice Scarf, Eruption. It's like a very strong Pokemon, and in second terrain, it can't be Sucker Punch prioritied or Aqua Jetted for that matter. Banded Aqua Jet, and yeah, it's just overall it fit the vibe more. It passed the vibe check, and that Pokemon is Hisuian Typhlosion. Now, Hisuian Type is an interesting Pokemon. It's another one of those fire ghost Pokemon alongside Chandelure, Skeldurge, and Ceruledge. And it's a very nice abuser of the Choice Scarf. Being able to Scarf Eruption. I can't Terra Fire at any given point in time and blow stuff up in smithereens, but it's powerful enough to where it can pull that off. And if, God forbid, my opponent's got a very hazardous team, I can just slap a boots on this thing. No problemo. Maybe not Eruption, because I don't want to, get hit and then my Eruption on do Zilch. But it still works out, and is a nice Pokemon to specs as well. This thing can do a lot for sure, and it's a very cool Pokemon, indeed. And it also gets the ability Frisk. This is one of those Frisk Pokemon, and I've never used Frisk before. I know I had Noivern in the TBD, but I brought it to 1 battle because it was the only battle I had the entire season, and it never hit the field. So this is effectively my first time getting to use a Friskmon, and Frisk is going to be so helpful. And checking my opponent's items is basically all Hisuian Typhlosion is going to be good for, but it's all that it needs to be good for, because having that Frisk, even though Blaze could be helpful at times, having that Frisk is going to be super useful to kind of gauge what my opponent's strategy could be. So I'm excited to use this Pokemon, and that's going to be the team. And yeah, it's a very solid one too. Might be one of my better drafts, and can we just see when it hits the battle for the first time what this thing can do and what kind of damage will we see. And that's going to be all for this draft analysis video. I know like a lot of chaos happened while doing the recording. I'm going from one place to the other, and it's like, oh my goodness, what do I do? But I don't. But despite that, I think the draft analysis went pretty well. And honestly, I was excited for this season to start. I know this was a little bit longer than, or honestly about the same, but like the draft, like talking about like the draft went on longer than it normally does, and I apologize for that. But I really like this. Draft. I think Bubby's going to do good this season, and I'm really excited to cook with this team. I know you guys are excited to watch me cook with this team as well. And yeah, it's going to be a very, very cool new season. And actually, speaking of, right now, I am in the process of drafting for another one. So it's going to be a lot of crazy stuff going on by the time. And so as some leagues die down, like Puppy Pound, these 2 leagues will start up. And we will be getting to a lot of battles. There will be a battle pretty much almost every day, probably, with the amount of leagues that I'm in right now, which is kind of crazy. 5 leagues. Oh my gosh. And yeah, the MLBBL is almost over too, so that'll probably help me out a little bit. And yeah, it was gonna be a very exciting few seasons here. And I'm excited to have begin this season of the MDL. Thank you guys so much for having me. It's an honor. And now it is time to get to cooking. It's going to be a fun season. It's definitely going to be a fun season. I'm glad you guys are along for the ride. And yeah, that's all I have for now. I am your coach of Pittsburgh Looks. My name is Zach Attack. I hope you have a glorious day. And I will most certainly see you all on the flip side. Peace. Oh, and one more thing before I go. The darkness is better than the light!